Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Was Blamed and It Changed Him, guys. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also stay in tune for Anime King 3. I'm going to be posting a new episode over there, so I hope you guys enjoy. And also, if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto was still royally pissed about the entire situation when it comes to him and his father being Minato, and no one hasn't told him about it, as Jiraiya. And Kakashi found him at the monument, as Jiraiya gave him a scroll. As Naruto looked it over, it was a letter from his father, as he read it. But despite everything, his father didn't tell him why. Everything had to be kept a secret away from him, as, despite who he was back then, he wouldn't go around and blab the truth to everyone. As Naruto made his way towards a secret house. Going up there, Naruto found a lot of scrolls down in the basement, and there was even a training area in there, so that things wouldn't get destroyed. There was a lot of things here to add on to his personal techniques. Naruto then went to visit Shino, and Shikamaru was the one in charge. It was a tie against Sasuke, and with Sasuke, Sakura told Shino that if Naruto was here, he would be with Sasuke. But little did she know, Naruto hated Sasuke as well. As Shino realized that Naruto has changed, and the Naruto that he once knew is no more. So with that, Naruto headed off after speaking to him, as Tsunade had promoted the Jonin, so it was time for him to leave the village. As Tatsumi and Hana, they had a surprise for him, as they gave him the pup. The dog that loved Naruto so much, they gave her to him, as Naruto had a companion now, and the dog was able to talk like Tatsumi dog. Naruto and Jiraiya and Kakashi were called to the office, as Tsunade was called to a meeting of the Kages. Naruto was plainly and simply telling her that this doesn't concern him. If she wanted to act against the old man for what he did, she should, but it doesn't matter to him. As Tsunade heard how he spoke cold and indifference, she feared that she lost the boy that came to rescue her to bring her back to the village. So with that, Naruto finally headed out, as Tsunade was going to the meeting with Kakashi and Guy. And Tsunade was attacked. Naruto was nearby, so he came and stopped the pursuers, as it was a clan that was said to be wiped out. Tsunade continued her journey though, as Naruto made his way as he was going after a Hyuga that went crazy after receiving a cage bird seal, and she killed many of the main house members, and now she was on the run. Tsunade was going to the meeting and she had to keep a level head. Only he could use this opportunity to try to make her look bad in front of all the Kages here, as she had to keep a steady composure as they made their way towards the meeting. But little did they know, things was going to be wild up, as Madara told Nagato to get ready, as the both of them would be attending the meeting between the Kages. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the glitch and check it out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? As a party from Konoha entered the castle where the meeting was going to be held, they were stopped by the castle guards, as they had to show identification. As Tsunade handled her invitation, Kakashi looked at the guards. All of them were dressed in a white armor covering their entire body, and swords strapped on their waists. It was obviously they were all samurais. Everyone relaxed the voice as they turned. "Welcome to Iron Country, Hokage Dano, and your bodyguards." As Mifune was standing there, by appearances alone, he didn't look much. He was the one in charge of this island. He had long black hair, a wrinkled face, and a weird looking beard. Konoha is the last party to arrive. The other Kages are waiting for you. Pass the door behind me. The bodyguards will be on the upper level. through the door on my left. The Konoha party nodded as Kakashi and Guy went to the upper level, as Snazzy and Mifune entered through the large door. As soon as they enter, Mifune announced the Hokage's arrival. Snazzy laid eyes on Gaara as she gave him a brief nod, which Gaara returned. The Raikage and Tishikage was there as well. Snazzy was surprised though when she saw the Mizukage, Mei Terume, as she was a good ninja, very strong and equally beautiful. Well, she was hot-headed and tended to make mistakes. At least that was on Jiraiya's report. At the end of the civil war in Kire, "Greetings, Hokage Dano. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance once more," Oniki said, with a smile that makes she just want to smack his head off. But she had to keep a calm, cool, steady appearance at the moment. Kakashi told her that he would be trying to goad her into things because of what happened with Naruto, so she had to maintain her composure here. Such unjustified acts wouldn't sit well with the other Kages. It didn't matter though. At the end of this, the Hidden Stone would be forced to comply to her demands, since the man just could not risk breaking the pact of neutrality that they all signed without any justified reasons. "The pleasure is all mine," Tishikage Dano said Snazzy as she went down, sitting where she was supposed to sit, as the man was still smiling the entire time. He was a bit surprised at the lack of hostility in her tone, but he didn't stop pressing his luck. No doubt he can go turn to retaliating. After Snazzy took her seat, the leader of Fire Country, Mifune, called the meeting to order. "As all of you know, my name is Mifune, and I'm leader of this country. This meeting was arranged by the Raikage Dano, and I will be the moderator. The topic of discussion is the Akatsuki and the threat that it poses to elemental nations. As far as we know, they're after the demons, the Bijous, and taking the respected Jinchurikis as well, with the Raikage brother being amongst them. I will now pass the meeting word towards the one that is responsible of all of us gathering here. By all means, Raikage Dano." After hearing his name, A lifted from his chair as he slammed both hands on the table. "First of all, I want to extend my appreciation for all of you being present here. I understand the threat Akatsuki pose, and right now they've gone too far. Not only did they capture one of my top Jonins, Yujito, but they also had the audacity to kidnap my brother. It's time to put a stop to this." Despite his figure and the way he spoke and acted, the Raikage was a considerate man when it comes to his shinobis and his family. But it went without saying, this meeting was only called because they suffer the loss of his brother. Snazzy leaned forward a bit. "I understand your concern, Raikage Dano. I really do. However, like you said, the Akatsuki threat go back a long time ago, almost 5 years now. In fact, myself and Jiraiya of the Sanin gather all information and evidence that we could of his organization and hand it to all Kages, so that we could prepare beforehand. I am sure that you remember what you did with the information that he supplied to your village. Right, Raikage Dano?" she asked. The man frowned. When Jiraiya came to the Akatsuki file, Yujito wasn't yet captured. A was a proud man, everyone knew that. He didn't think one stupid organization could scare the entire elemental nation and cause this much mayhem. An organization formed of all S-rank missing names posed a threat to every village. Not only did they have knowledge of our village defense and security system, they knew how to find their respective Jinchurikis. As all of you know, I was a former Jinchuriki, and they simply captured me inside the Hidden Sand. And they did without even alerting my shinobis at first. Also, despite the recent losses by the Sanin Jiraiya, they are still a threat that cannot be ignored, said Gaara. Snazzy smiled at Gaara, as Gaara knew that Naruto was responsible for some of the Akatsuki being brought down, but he did not say his name, keep his identity safe. But Onki was smirking the entire time. That's a good speech and all, kid, but it seems your feeling of the Akatsuki doesn't share with your predecessors and advisors. I believe some of them actually hired the Akatsuki once or twice. What are you talking about? Gaara said. Oniki still had on that smirk, goading Gaara. I would ask your advisors, kid. You of all people shouldn't be saying this, seeing that the Hidden Stone hired them a number of times in the past. I guess the village resources were limited at the time, right? According to my spy network, the Akatsuki hadn't even started collecting Bijous yet. They were just collecting funds for their operation. Funds that the Hidden Stone was happy to provide for high-level missions. As all the other Kages turned towards Oniki, Jiraiya may be a perverted man, but when it comes to information, Snazzy would always trust him, as he always finds the information that no one else can. I believe we're deviating from the subject here, said Mifune. Whether or not one of these was responsible for the Akatsuki or brain, we simply cannot stop the focus on the Akatsuki. Now, as moderator of this meeting, I propose an adjournment Today was meant for introductions only, but nearly brought forward bloody accusations towards one another. We will continue this meeting same time tomorrow. Now all of your accommodations are ready, so please follow my samurais. None of the Kages objected to this order, seeing that they respected Mifune command on this. In order for a negotiation to happen, they must have a clear and focused mind. Time skip with Naruto as he slowly opened his eyes as the sunlight pry into his hotel room as he had to squint his eyes. Quickly doing his morning routine, he was fully geared in half an hour. Mainjutsu was still someone asleep next to his bed. He smiled as he ate some ration bars as he opened the scroll that the Uzumaki gave him. The moment he opened it, the dog woke up. This food must have some kind of lure substance to you, huh? Said Naruto. We'll be busy all day, so eat everything, said Naruto. As Naruto thought about the situation, according to his companion, Tatsuko-sen was still in the area, meaning she hadn't left Tatsuka yet. However, he couldn't face her inside the village from fear of her using some leverage against him to get away. He knew though eventually she would have to leave this area. A missing ninja can't always be in one place. They must move constantly in order to be avoiding detection from Hunter Nint. It was a shame that his first A-rank target was this sloppy when it comes to hiding her position. Even if he had a tracker in ninjutsu, normally Hyuga would be able to detect its presence and flee right away. Something was definitely odd in this situation, he thought. His commander always told him to follow his own instincts. Therefore, Naruto always played safe as he always overestimated his opponents. It wouldn't go well for him to underestimate someone, especially someone with a Byakugan that could see him coming from a mile away. It was better to assume that she already knew that someone was following her. As his pup finished his meal, and with that, they left the room. As Naruto tried to come up with a plan to lure the woman away from the village and deal with her properly without interference. Meanwhile, as she was currently playing poker, she felt like something was off as she activated her Byakugan and she saw him, one of those hunters, but he wasn't looking towards the direction. Cursed at the fact that she just lost her money, she walked away, hoping to gain distance from this man. Quickly getting inside a dark alley, she started to run towards the village gate, as her dojutsu allowed her to triangulate his rapid movement and get away accordingly. But for some reason she felt off. Her heart was beating rather fast, her breathing was quick, and her steps wasn't soundless like it was supposed to be. She was having a real bad feeling about this hunter ninja. Her dojutsu allowed her to see her in the chakra coils, and it's safe to say that she was scared shitless to what she saw. His chakra was immense, far greater than everyone else that has ever came after her. If they engage, if he knew how to use his skill to his fullest abilities, she didn't think that she could win if they engage. No, I would not go back to that hell. I prefer death than suffering the clan penalties, she thought. After taking a great distance away from the gate, she activated her Byakugan to make sure she was safe. But to her surprise, he was just a few distance away from her with his arm crossed. She spun around on her heel as she, ready for battle. She could see his chakra coils building up. He was also ready, despite his arms being full and looked like he was off guard. She saw the sudden change of fire nature as he went through handstand, fire style, fireball jutsu. She twisted her leg. Rotation, she said, as she spun. That was easily able to blot the man's fire technique. But then he started to clap mockingly. I'm impressed, Hyuga. There aren't many branch members that are able to learn main branch technique. Except for one. But that's another subject. Also, I never thought you managed this on your own, seeing that you were still a genin when you escaped. She got angry as Naruto knew that would happen. Main branch members always thought that you were above the branch members. So, to call one of the branch members weak, to say they can't learn a main jutsu, it made him infuriated and angry. She tried to calm herself. He was capitalizing on her hatred for the main branch. She shifted her feet as she focused in taijutsu stance. You know, I never bother to tell my targets their options. I won't bother with you all the same. Get ready, Hyuga. She didn't wait as she dashed forward to close his points. Her speed was interesting her to reason. However, by focusing a bit of chakra to his legs, he was able to evade all first strikes with ease, as he dodged an incoming blow to his chest and grabbed the hilt of his blade. The moment he brought it out, he got lit up with flames as he struck at her, but she flipped away from a dangerous swipe. As Naruto speed through another set of hand signs after stabbing his blade in the ground. Wind style, great wind breakthrough. She tried to flip the last time, but her feet was lifted off the ground, throwing her back as her eyes caught sight of the earth shifting. Flipping her feet in mid-air, she landed on the hill that was just created by her earth jutsu. as she pushed off with force. She landed right in front of him a few feet as she went into a familiar stance that Naruto recognized. I'm sorry, Hunter-san, but the rotation isn't the only technique I learned from the main branch. 64 palms technique. As she struck him violently, but in the middle of a strike, he suddenly poof, replaced the tree log instead. She bit her lip at being beaten by a mere Academy Ninja Jutsu. As she looked around for him, 2 hands appeared from the ground, startling her as they grabbed her ankles. As she knew how to counter this, but suddenly an enemy was in front of her, going through hand sign. Binding seal technique. Naruto slammed his glowing hand on her neck as he focused on the seal, as he remembered everything in his father's notes. As he learned this, within seconds ink marks started to appear all over her body, binding her in place. The markings only went to her waist, so it didn't bind her entire body, but that was enough though. Hyuga Akatsuki, said Naruto, A-rank missing nin, considered guilty by the Hyuga clan and council of Konoha, treason for openly attacking a clan member of the main branch. This is your last chance to surrender. She bitterly cursed this man at the same time cursed her life. She never crossed paths with someone like this before. It was unbelievable. Every damn attack she threw, it was either dodged or evaded by this man. It was so frustrating, it was like he was one step ahead of her the entire time, when she should be the one step ahead of him because of her Byakugan. As she saw his sword ignite, she knew it would be her end. All her life flashed past her eyes, she realized her fate. As she wondered why he asked her to surrender after he won. At least I wouldn't be killed by Hyuga though, she thought to herself. I will not surrender, she said. The moment I saw you, I knew that you'd be the one to kill me, she said. But before, can you answer a question for me, she asked. Seeing look in her eyes, she accepted her fate, and the markings could only be cancelled by another Fuinjutsu user, or him. As he told her to ask. About what you said, one of the branch members, learning the main branch technique. Do you know his or her name? Yes. His name is Neji Hyuga, son of the deceased Hyuga Hisashi. So, little Neji-kun, I always knew that he was destined for more. She closed her eyes. Slice. Her head was gone. It was painless. She barely felt anything before everything went black. As Naruto took the head and burned the body, as he sealed away the head and wrote a message to the Hokage, as he summoned another messenger toad, Mkichi was on vacation. The toad got the scroll and vanished as Mainjutsu came out. Now that she's dealt with, I guess it's high time for some training. Want to join Mainjutsu-chan? The dog nodded as Naruto formed a Sengan sign, creating 3 clones to fight against him and Mainjutsu. Meanwhile, at the Kage summit, Mifyu's idea to postpone everything was, well, wonderful, as everyone was quite relaxed. As Tsunade was explaining to the other Kages about the Akatsuki and some of their former members and their abilities, Guy and Kakashi were listening from the top level floor. Kakashi was happy that Tsunade calmed herself completely, not giving Tsuchikage any opportunities to rile her up or get her angry. Alright, said Mifune. I believe all 5 Kages agree with me that it would be wise to get rid of the Akatsuki. Therefore, I propose the alliance to be formed by all 5 villages to take care of this threat once and for all. As soon as Mifune done talking, there were murmurs from top levels, as no one believed something like that would ever happen. The Kages, though, they weren't as skeptical. Indeed, an alliance between the 5 nations would build unstoppable force, the Raikage said. Akatsuki may be a form of S-rank criminals, but there's a reason why they fear even one of us. Kumo is in favor of this alliance, as he wanted those bastards that took Yujito and his brother to pay with their lives. The Hino-san agrees as well, said Gaara. His action was mirrored by the Mizukage, who said that the mist wasn't known as the Bloody Mist anymore, and she was searching for means to prove that. The Tsuchikage, though, didn't express agreement at first. As expected of a man of his experience, it wasn't easy to just let go and abide by this new rule. He looked at Tsunade as he bit his lip violently, thinking about joining force with the Hidden Leaf, the same village that was responsible for nearly annihilating the Hidden Stone off the map. Worst of all, only one man could be blamed. Damn you, Tokage. Even in your grave you mock the Hidden Stone. I bet you're laughing right now, but I have no choice. 3 villages already said yes to the alliance, and I have no doubt that Konoha will abide by it as well. If I don't, the Hidden Stone will be badly viewed by the others. I can't have that. The Hidden Stone accepted as well. If Tsunade was surprised, she didn't show it, as she was really calm, as all of them turned towards her, waiting for a response. The Hidden Stone just dig its hole deeper though, By accepting this, there was no backing out now. Konoha is in favor as well, but there's one matter I wish to clear up my fellow Kages before we proceed. Her smile turned vicious and her attitude changed completely as the Tishikage narrowed his eyes. During the last student exams held in the Hidden Stone, one of my Genin's shinobis reported a breach of the old pact of neutrality that our past predecessors fought so hard for. For you see, the Genin named Naruto Uzumaki was attacked by the Tishikage himself. While the Genin is safe, the attack alone contributed a great breach of neutrality. The rest of the population turned toward the Tishikage as Gaara glared at him as well, seeing that Himajira was the one that protected Naruto from the onslaught. It would be bad for Konoha and the Hidden Stone to fight right now with the Akatsuki on the loose. They would capitalize upon this war to try and capture the last remaining Jinchuriki. Just so all you know, Konoha doesn't plan on backing out of this alliance. We'll just settle for our easy agreement here with our fellow Kages as witnesses. Fearing of Tishikage Dano, she adds. The look on his face was priceless. No doubt Naruto's attack won't go unpunished. Mifune cleared his throat to get this situation out of the way and address the alliance. I happened to read the Pact of Neutrality signed by all 5 Kages after the last war. As stated, any village that break the pact in any kind of way will be condemned to a fine and be obligated. The attacked village, 5 of the village A-rank ninjutsu. I believe in favor for a present agreement, Tishikage Dano. You won't object to this. The Tishikage narrowed his eyes and smiled at Tsunade. She must have planned this the entire time, he thought to himself. Now with 4 other Kages there, it would be too high for us to deny this. Thinking back to the assault on Minato-san, he cursed at the Kazekage interference. As the boy was distracted by finding out his father, it seems like it was a shock to him as well. Those kunais would have pierced him and seen that they were coated with poison. The fox wouldn't be able to save him. But the Hidden Stone revenge seemed like it was going to happen, and Konoha was trying to make sure of that. No, I do not object, Mifune-san. I will only ask that the Hokage have some of her men reach the Hidden Stone in 3 days. I'll have everything ready, he said in a defeated tone, much to Tsunade's pleasure. I'll be happy to decide our team right after my departure. Now, let us continue with the meeting that... Tsunade paused. Well, she was interrupted. I hate to interrupt this meeting. Well, it is all for good reason, I assure you. All of their eyes snapped towards the 2 Akatsuki members, Pain and Madara Uchiha. The 5 Kages were startled to see the Akatsuki robes here. The 4th Raikage wasted no time as lightning exploded around his body. In no time at all, he dived toward the masked man, but he passed right through his body, breaking in the wall. The Raikage twists and launched towards Pain, but an unnatural force slammed into him as he smashed away. As I was saying before I was interrupted, I just wish to talk to you all. It's quite rare to see such an occasion, I might add. In my time, this very thought would be a sign of weakness. I guess things have changed a lot. As the Tishikage considered the man's last phrase, it's quite rude of you to raise this much animosity between our village and not even introduce yourself. Who are you? Or are you too cowardly to not let the enemy know your identity? As Madara laughed, showing clear disrespect towards Tishikage. Doing so at this point to Oniki would be quite counterproductive. You see, I came here to reveal to everyone about Akatsuki plan, our goal. By the mention of my name, some of you feel quite nostalgic. Seeing that, it is something most of you remember. Although, some of you weren't even born yet, he said, as he looked towards them in the room. You might know me as the ghost of the Uchiha, the one that stand against the first Hokage. My name is Madara. Uchiha Madara, he said. The sudden silence in the room was deafening. You could even hear a small pin drop to the ground as they were confused and scared. Uchiha Madara was the strongest ninja of his time next to the first Hokage, and to believe that that same man was right here. He was standing right there. Tsunade knew the man from her childhood, the man her grandfather considered his friend and rival at the same time. He was responsible for the village foundation and founder of the Uchiha clan. I can see all of you trust my words to be authentic. After all, I don't have a reason to lie at this point. Now it's time to reveal what the Akatsuki main goal is. A long time ago, the Sage of Six Paths came to these lands, preaching about peace in the chaos. As some of you know, although some of you consider him a legend, the Sage of Six Paths was a founder of ninja arts that we all use today. In a certain time he faced the almighty Ten-Tailed Beast, called the Jube. Even as someone like him, killing the beast was next to impossible. Therefore, he sealed the beast away inside his own body, fearing that with his death, the Jube would escape. He split it on his deathbed into 9 parts. Hence the creation of the tail beast we all know and fear. He slowed down a bit so they all digested that information. Therefore, with that power in my reach, I can recreate the Jube and become its Jinjulike. With it, I'll have the power to control everyone, order, wards, everything will go through me. Once I get the Jube's power, I will have access to the world's most powerful genjutsu, the Tsukiyomi. With it, I will gain utter peace in this world. Real peace is something many revolutionists dreamed about. What makes your plan different from the others? It was Kakashi that spoke, finally breaking the silence that came after Madara's speech. Quite true. Sharingan Kakashi, but you see where others fail, I will succeed. As of right now, I declare the start of the 4 great ninja war against you all, said Madara as he and Pain simply vanished, leaving them all to digest all of that. A good 3 minutes passed without no one saying anything. Gaara was the one that snapped them and voiced their concern though. It's imperative that we guard the only remaining Jinjulike. It's the only thing separating Madara from achieving his plan. Let it be this alliance's first mission together, said the Raikage. Each one of us will assign one of our bodyguards to achieve and occupy the Kaiba Jinjulike, where we can bring him here and decide on his protection detail. Everyone nodded as now they wonder how Naruto will react. Once he has to learn once again, he has to be taken off active duty, because the Akatsuki is no focus on him alone. In a little less than 5 minutes, all of them stood outside the castle. The 5 assembled shinobi to get Naruto. Kakashi, knowing where Naruto was, where he should be, was the leader, followed by the Raikage, sensory-type ninja named Shi. Temari from the sand and Kurasuke from the rock also joined. Last but not least, Ayo, as he was a sensor and a hunter ninja, and he also had a Byakugan. Time skip. Not knowing anything, Naruto and Mainjutsu was making their way, as Naruto was going through the bingo book. So Naruto said, Mainjutsu, do you choose who is next, or are we just walking around? I just found an interesting one to chase, said Naruto. Quite a strange name for the person she is. Nagia Kuzubaka, meaning gentle flower. Eiran Kunoichi, she has experience in large, explosive seals and deadly traps. According to the book, she used a simple mission assigned by the 3rd Raikage to rob a bank. She succeeded in her endeavor, but she ran away a few weeks later when the head of interrogation, Ibiki, unraveled the truth and came after her. Now, she's a dirty freelancer, with clients under her payroll. According to his being a book, Kuzubana was spotted near Fan Country. At times, Naruto wondered how the Hunter Ninja Commander managed to gather so much information about them. But then again, the man must have a spy network as good as Jiraiya's, if not better. Naruto has never been to Fan Country before, but on his map it calculated that he'd need a good day to get there. He didn't remember much about the country though, only that he didn't have a ninja village, so he shouldn't be concerned about anyone spotting him. Not that he feared to have to fight someone, but as a hunter named from Konoha, he can't just simply march into the country and start asking questions. Besides, the bingo book had a description of her. Despite being in her 40s, she was quite a looker. But good looking or not, she was an A-rank criminal. Time skip. At Konoha, Shikamaru and Shino couldn't say that they were on friendly terms with each other. They only hang out when the O-class reunited, and that rarely happened anymore. Shikamaru was a Jonin, and now he was a part of the 2nd version of the Inoshikacho, and Shino was the envoy captain. It was safe to say that even co-op missions between them were rare. But they had a bond at the moment. They were the ones that would decide Sasuke's fate on his transgressions. The problem was they were scheduled to give their answer to Hokage almost a week ago, and no verdict was reached. Shikamaru think that it was a quite troublesome task to think of stuff like this, while Shino wanted his classmate consents to his choice. Shino took Naruto's words to heart and decided to sentence Sasuke to death on his actions. Needless to say, he found us strong against on the woman's side. Even though they consider Sasuke guilty, none of them are comfortable with ending the Uchiha life, even though he betrayed the Leaf and a side with one of Konoha's S-rank criminals. The death penalty was the only logical choice, as for many others, they would die on the spot. But Sasuke was brought back to be judged. But Shino was getting annoyed by this, as he wanted all of it to be over. Troublesome. I'm actually starting to believe it was better if Naruto never captured that prick in the first place. That way, I wouldn't need to worry about this. It was a known fact amongst them who was responsible for Itachi, and Sasuke captured Seeing that only Shikamaru and Shino were nominated, Hokage thought best to only tell them about it. Shino already knew though, as Naruto spoke to him a couple days ago. Shikamaru wasn't surprised, or if he was, he found it too troublesome to act surprised. Nevertheless, his position was the same as Shino's, although he half considered sealing away Sasuke's eyes, the one thing that he was proud of. Be that as it may, we still have Sasuke's fate to consider. By this time, it's clear to both of us that neutral consent will never be reached. At least one of the girls will believe that Sasuke does not deserve it. I know, said Shikamaru, as he knew one of the girls would be against it. I guess we could ask Neji and Hinata to permanently shut his chakra points, seal off his Sharingan for good. That way he will no longer have access to his chakra Sharingan. I guess it's the best thing to do, seeing the circumstances. Naruto would disagree, but seeing his latest achievements, I wouldn't be surprised if he did everything within his power to kill the Uchiha. As Shikamaru members talked with the others, a hunter named was cleaning the bingo book non-stop. As Kakashi had talked to Shikamaru in private about Naruto exploits, and while some of it sounded a bit too gruff, seeing that it was Naruto they were talking about, none of it was not effective. With the decision finally made, both of them marched towards the tower. It would have been best to run the idea with the others first, but both Shikamaru and Shino knew if they did that, there would just be more arguments and it wouldn't solve everything, they have to start over. So, screw them. At least with their choice, Sasuke can be free. After a few years of prison, of course, without his usual power. Hell, Sasuke was still good in taijutsu. He could still focus on taijutsu alone. Amusing thought Shikamaru thought. Consider Sasuke, the last of the Uchiha clan, resorted to nothing but taijutsu. Time skip at the Hokage's office. Despite what everyone thought, Jiraiya always wondered what it would be like to sit in the decks and be Hokage. Both his sensei and his student often spoke the same thing. It was overwhelming, sitting behind the decks, sending ninjas on assignments that can probably get them killed. Having so many responsibilities drop on your shoulders. As Shizune walked in with more files. As Shizune looked at Jiraiya, he was acting the same way as Nene-sama. She wondered why they weren't a couple. They complained about the same things. They also act the same way most time. The only thing though, she didn't have to check the decks or the cabinets for a hidden bottle of sake. She left the papers behind the second folder. There was another stat there, as Jiraiya started to curse Nade for picking for this. Not thinking about Hayashi or maybe Shikaku. A knock on the door, and Shino and Shikamaru entered. Jiraiya looked up as he knew what they want to talk about. So it took you two quite a long time to decide. You were supposed to give Tsunade the answer 2 weeks ago. May I inquire what punishment are you given? Poor Sasuke-kun. The two exchanged looks between each other to see who would be the one to say it. Shikamaru released a sign contempt and took a step forward. We decided on a 5-year imprisonment. Also, his chakra have to be completely sealed off, permanently, by a Hyuga. Jiraiya fronted the answer. Well, he was just intimidating them. Truth is, Tsunade never meant to kill the boy. Sure, he sided with Orochimaru for petty reasons such as revenge, but taken away alive seemed like a minor punishment compared to what these two came up with, as it was really amusing a Uchiha with no Sharingan eyes to gloat about. He then showed a smile on his face as the both of them relaxed their stance a bit. Indeed, killing him will be nothing comparing to what your devious mind have conjured. I'll take care of proper paperwork and then call for a Neji or Hyuga Hayashi to take care of the ceremony. Seeing that they were no longer needed. Oh, Shikamaru! Jiraiya called out, stopping him from leaving, as he threw an AR mission scroll towards him. Shikamaru caught and opened it and read it. It is witness protection mission for your team. Your priority is to protect a witness in the Fire Lord country, capital. I bet you already knew what happened inside the castle 2 weeks ago. This man witnessed everything and said he was going to testify. Problem is, none of samurais were able to do it, so he asked us. The possible targets are all written on that scroll. Good day. Shikamaru fronted the mission but nodded, as he knew that a high head of the capital was murdered, as the witness need protection so he can testify who the murderer was. Well, at least he had an excuse now to focus on something else other than Sasuke punishment. That was until Ino found out and started to pest him. Time skip. Jiraiya figured that he would take care of Sasuke's punishment and let Tsunade her headache. Surprisingly so with her gone. His sensei, old teammates have yet to show their faces. This meant that he could carry out Sasuke's punishment without being interrupted or even thinking of those two elders. It would be quite infuriating and annoying if he appeared in front of Sasuke's prison for Homura to stop him, telling that Uchiha blood must be protected for some future use and all that. At least now he could go through with it without any future use or worried about that. As he made his way, He made his way to the Hyuga compound and conversed with Hayashi regarding Sasuke punishment, as he wanted a skilled clan member that can seal Sasuke chakra away without killing him. It may not seem difficult, but it was. They had to find the right amount of flow and disable it, as the Hyuga had to study Sasuke chakra network thoroughly. In the end, Hayashi gave the name of a Hyuga kunoichi named Tatsuma. She was a master when it comes to the human anatomy. The only one that could rival her in Hyugan strikes was Neji. But she was a medic nin, so she was better for this job. So now Jiraiya and Tatsuma was now in front of Sasuke's cell, as Ibiki was there as well. Even though the Hyuga kunoichi was older than Neji and Hinata, she looked quite young and youthful, as Jiraiya had to check her out a few times, giggling like the pervert he was. Contrary to other Hyugas, she was more thinking in Anko's way. The fewer clothes, the better, despite the Hyuga natural thinking. Her large chest barely fit inside her shirt, with dark blue shorts that barely passed her knees. I see that those two finally reached a decision, Jiraiya-sama. Ibiki says he opened the door to Sasuke's cell. Jiraiya nodded as he allowed the lady to enter first as he stepped in right after her. The door was closed behind. Sasuke's eyes slowly cracked open, turned to the sudden noise. He frowned a bit, knowing that this day will come eventually. He knew that something bad was going to happen, as he saw Jiraiya smile the entire time. He knew that killing was never their intention on him. He may be a traitor, but he never lifted a finger against Konoha before, except for Naruto. That was because the blonde wanted desperately to take him back to Konoha. He supposed they would never trust him with any kind of power right now at the moment. Yes, that would be outrageous. And the fact that there was a Hyuga there, were they trying to seal away his chakra for the moment? Or seal it away forever? But despite it all, he didn't dread anything. Itachi was dead. And after that, well, he had his clan to think about. If his chakra got sealed away, all he could work on was taijutsu. I was hoping that Hokage would be the one to deal for my punishment, Sasuke said. He heard stories about this Jiraiya from Orochimaru, the one man that always kept coming back no matter what technique the snake used to beat him. In a way, Sasuke saw the way Naruto used to beat in this man. Tsunade is busy with other affairs right now, so she asked me to take care of you, little Uchiha. I guess I don't have to explain what your punishment will be. My Hyuga friend right here will take good care of your chakra system. Now meet Tatsuma, if you would. Sasuke looked towards her. Her eyes were similar, like all her kind. Cold, menacing, even more so than the Sharingan eyes ever were. When the veins around her eyes expanded, Sasuke closed his eyes. He said goodbye to the one thing that never abandoned him before, his Sharingan. Outside, a violent scream could be heard come from inside. It seemed that the process was rather painful. Time skip. A day later, Naruto and Ninjutsu were at the fan country, as she was currently drinking some water as Naruto was preparing her lunch. The bingo book didn't give such much information to work on regarding the woman's location, but he can interrogate someone from the black market to find out where her next mission would be. After Ninjutsu returned by his side, as he gave her lunch, as he sat and waited, as the both of them had made it here quick. They were both a bit fatigued. After that, the both of them made their way to the capital. The city was covered by the same mountains he saw upon crossing the border. A great load of rivers split into the city, transformed to a low-life mercenary wearing a black eye patch. Is here black whisker marks gone, mangers to transform, but no one knew her, as there was a lot of thugs in the bars drinking and screaming at each other like maniacs. As Naruto walked and sat down right from the bartender and placed his sword on the table to get the man's attention. Well, these are things that thugs did. How can I help you, foreigner? The man asked. Some sake. The bartender grabbed the bottle of sake and poured some for Naruto. I was looking for someone as well and was hoping you can help me. As Naruto drank the entire glass like it was nothing, the bartender poured another glass as he looked at Naruto, trying to test if the man wouldn't kill him if he denied his request for information. Maybe I can help you. Do you have a name? Her name is Nagia Kuzumana, a rank missing from a village called Konoha. As soon as Naruto said the name, the entire bar went silent. Naruto figured it was a routine, seeing that anyone that measured up to Kakashi Sensei level, well, was dangerous. Even the thugs were now glaring at Naruto like he was an enemy. But Naruto narrowed his only visible eye and directed his chakra towards them in a terrible manner. Immediately, they paid and left the premises. As Naruto knew that the bartender knew something, seeing the man suddenly change. Okay, old man, let's start talking. And pour me some more sake. It's quite tasty. I don't know exactly where to find her, but I know someone that does. Any information would suffice, said Naruto. Rumors are that this man's like an agent of sort for criminals. Kuzumana, go to informations. By following this bookie agent, he would eventually find her. Okay, old man, you seem to know a lot about him. So tell me, where can I find him? Naruto said. As the bartender gave Naruto the location. So with that, Naruto left with Ninjutsu. As Naruto went to go and find this man, according to the bartender, always hang around the daimyo mansion back outpost. While the bartender didn't say the name, he gave the description. Spiky black hair, weird head, and he also wear a grey, oversized coat. Somehow this description sounded familiar to Naruto, but he couldn't quite place it. He had to be fast. The man usually sits around for 20 or 10 minutes for Kusabana to appear. After that he leaves. As soon as he landed on the rooftop, he saw the man described by the bartender. He was just standing there doing nothing. Naruto need to wait. May I suggest you use something to hide your presence, Naruto? He may not realize you're spying on him, but the A-rank ninja surely will. As Naruto was a bit surprised. It's been a while since Nekayubi spoke, so it catch him off guard a bit. Naruto though didn't know any genjutsu techniques. That was something he planned to learn in the future. The way he was positioned in could shadow his presence, but that would only happen if she came from the other side of the alley. But any Jonin would know and be aware of his presence. He tried his best to lower his chakra to the maximum as he could. This way, if she sensed him, she'd probably think that it was some genin or a civilian. After a few minutes she appeared, as she narrowed her eyes around, but she went to talk to the agent, as Naruto couldn't hear anything from where he was. The photo inside the bingo boat though, it did her very little justice. She was even more beautiful. She would top any woman that Jiraiya would ever explain in his novels. From what he could see, Shinobi-wise though, she didn't appear like much. No visible weapons, but she could have hidden them in scrolls or something. It was like she knew that someone was watching her though, if her eyes were any indications narrowing around. After 10 minutes she left, as Naruto left as well. As Mainjutsu had memorized her scent, he told Mainjutsu to stay put, as he vanished. The agent lighted a cigarette. He was confident that the job would be performed without any drawbacks. Kusabana was as skilled as the money needed to hire her, so the job will be completed this time. He blinked. That was the mistake he made. The moment he reopened his eyes, a sword was placed at his throat. A hand grabbed his hair and pulled it back, as the blade inched against his throat. Do not scream or cry for help, or it will be your last breath on earth. I want to know what you told Kusabana. It is a job. I want to hear everything. As he pressed the blade up against the man's throat, even tighter. Who are you? Why are you after her? The man said, as he was already shaking in fear. It was his job to hire Miss Nin for his clients. You let me worry about my intentions, said Naruto. Now, what did you tell her? The man spilled everything after feeling the sword pressing in his throat even more. According to the man, she was hired to assassinate the daimyo's head of security. He was scheduled to arrive to the forest where Naruto came from at night. Naruto wasn't really worried about the daimyo's head of security, but he was worried about fighting a girl at night. It was risky to fight and trap experts at night without the aid of the sun. Nevertheless, Kusabana wasn't the type of person who would stick around after a job was done, and he would have to hunt after her once again. So you have to stop this from happening. Time skip. At the fire country border. After speeding a bit, Naruto managed to reach the place where Kusabana would kill the security. So far, nothing was visible. He figured that her target would have at least a couple of samurais tailing him for his protection. He and Mainjutsu begin their travel once again through the dense woods. The forest he was in, though, it was very dense, and a carriage couldn't pass through here. But there was only one path available, and that was the one that he was looking down upon. With that, he was able to narrow down the locations for the attack, because there was only one way down. Kusabana wouldn't attack the man close to the border because he would attract the border patrol guards. So she would deal with them before the carriage appeared here. Mainjutsu was sniffing around trying to find the scent. Naruto, I found her. Couple of meters to her right. Naruto nodded as he advanced once more by a Shanshin, as he appeared behind a thick tree, as Naruto saw her placing explosive tags around the forest. As Kusabana was planting the explosive, she sensed something as her danger senses told her to get the hell out of there. As she leaped, the moment she did, a dust of kunais and shurikens flew towards her. As she dashed to the side, she was so worried about her target, she didn't cover her tracks in a flash. She quickly pulled out a ninjato blade that was sealed away on a seal on her wrist as she tried to block his strike. But his attack was too powerful as she was sent sailing. Naruto threw a couple more kunai and shuriken towards her as he speed through hand signs, wind style, gale wind, palm technique. The wind technique propelled the shurikens and kunais at top speed as she was in mid-air. She quickly substituted a log as Naruto narrowed his eyes around. 3 kunais were thrown towards him from the bush as he leaped. Tags were on them as he had moved far away enough, but a deafening sound started to activate as she activated the seals as Naruto covered his ears. As she dashed towards him, Naruto focused the wind chakra and created a vacuum around his body as she was blown back by the force of the wind. He then got to his feet as she rushed towards him. She lashed out with punches as all of them were filled with chakra right towards his face as he blocked and parried her attacks. As Naruto grabbed onto her wrist and spun her and threw her to the side, pulling his katana from the ground and charging towards her. But she landed on a tree and she had enough time to gain her bearings. As the both of them heard approaching, someone is approaching, so like a small army. Kusumana cursed his existence as she threw smoke bombs on the ground. This was messing up her plan. Main Jutsu though was close by. She slammed into Kusumana with the Getsuga technique, knocking her back right in towards Naruto's path. Wind style, your bullet technique. Kusumana twisted her body as she was able to drop to the ground in a rather strange angle, her hand being sliced by the tree. As she looked at the tree to see the wind technique had pierced right through it, she realized how close to death she was. By now her target was already going along in South Fan country, so she failed her damn mission. But her life was more important at the moment. The Hunter Nin was good, but he was still a Hunter Nin, and she faced and killed many of them before. She went through Hunt Sign, Water Release, Large, Projectile Jutsu, she says. He started to gather up the water in her lungs. She blasted right to the tree as Naruto was caught and sent flying, as she started to mold her chakra for her most deadly technique. This Hunter Nin was good, there was no doubt about that, but no one ever survived against this technique of hers. She cursed as she saw that she just hit a clone. She just needed a couple of seconds to mold her chakra the way it was supposed to mold. As Naruto was on top of a tree, suddenly Kusumana appeared in front of him. Naruto stopped. She was naked, and every hormone in his body was telling him to have his way with her. He didn't know what happened, but his body was trembling in excitement as he started to walk forward like he was hypnotized by the enemy. This was her most powerful technique. Almost no man could resist her genjutsu. With her chakra, she could invade the enemy chakra and increase level of pheromones. And placing the image inside of the man's head of her naked form was enough to control the man's urges. That is why she always took down the Hunter Nins. Quickly unleashing her ninjato, she charged towards him. "Wake the hell up!" the Kyuubi shouted, as Naruto snapped his eyes open fully, getting over the haze. Mainjutsu smashed against the tree, forcing Kusumana to jump back. "What? How the hell did you do that? You looked like a puppet a few seconds ago." "I'm not here to discuss techniques with you," said Naruto. "You're a criminal, and you will perish by my sword." As the Kyuubi chakra started to fluctuate in Naruto's body, so he wouldn't be invaded by the genjutsu. As she felt it, as the red aura came around Naruto. At the time, she was only a genin, under the 4th Kage command, but she remembered this feeling. "You're the Jinchuriki, aren't you?" she said, as she knew that Fox was seeing himself a baby. The question surprised him, but he guessed that she was old enough to have remembered that fateful day. "You're the one that the 4th seal beast inside of. I remember you now. You were that boy that always get in trouble for the pranks. I didn't think that you would harvest the Fox chakra that well." As she felt that feeling of dread as she heard shouts of her friends being killed. She heard her father being crushed violently by the beast's claws. By now she feared for her life as Naruto's sword got ignited, making him look more devilish. She dropped to the ground and started to back away from him, crawling towards a tree. As Naruto wondered why she was feeling this way, it was like she was having a mental breakdown in front of him. As Naruto sliced, this was a scene that the group came upon as Kumo, sensory type, had sensed the fluctuation of the beast chakra and followed it here. As Temari couldn't believe that Naruto was a Hunter Nin. Naruto was instantly alert as he turned towards Kakashi and a group of other shinobis there. "What is going on?" "Kakashi, what are you doing here?" he asked. "I'll give you all the answers, Naruto, but I'm afraid you must come with us. Hokage others." As Naruto wondered what the hell is going on, as he looked at all of them, he sealed away the head and burned the body, as he really wanted to know what the hell was going on. But guys, if you're interested right here, if you want the next part of this, do like, subscribe, comment, and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.